All right, gentlemen. So yeah, I have a fun little story before we start the night off. So
Oh boy.
yeah, actually a couple stories, but
Oh
so
no.
first story is so I'm helping this shitbag, right?
Off to a rousing start. We've
Yeah,
already
I was gonna say.
identified someone as a shitbag.
yeah, off the yeah. So this guy wants help getting his phone. He's got a new phone. He wants help getting Outlook onto his phone. Sure, no problem.
Oh yeah, that's reasonable.
All right, have you already downloaded Outlook? No.
Hmm.
Okay. Can you go ahead and do that?
No.
Sure. What do I have to do? You have to go to the App Store and download Microsoft Outlook. Okay.
Can I just say I hate New Outlook?
Oh, it's terrible. New Outlook is awful. Have you tried using Classic?
No, I have Classic, but
Okay.
unfortunately, I'm going to be forced to migrate to New.
Really? Why?
So we had an old Exchange server from 2007,
Yeah, and?
which stored all of our acknowledgement files on there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's still storing files from 2024, and back to 2020, which were legally mandated to keep.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Unfortunately, the Exchange server has shit the bed.
As one does from 2007.
So unfortunately, they can't. Now, a couple years ago, they sort of kludged it by moving it to a 2012 Exchange, but that's also shitting the bed. So we now have to pull everything off of there and move it to a new cloud server, which we have to. And they're like, yeah, the new cloud server uses new Outlook,
I
so
don't
you
see what
have
the
to use
issue
new
is.
Outlook.
You,
In order to access the acknowledgments, we have to use new Outlook.
but you don't.
I know that.
No, but what I'm telling you is that Outlook 365, because I'm assuming you were either using Outlook 2013 or 2016.
16, I believe.
Yeah, Outlook. So Microsoft made new Outlook. Everyone hated new Outlook so much they were losing customers over it.
Gee.
So they re-implemented Classic Outlook on a toggle switch for Microsoft 365. So when you move to 365, just toggle the switch to Classic.
I see.
It's basically 2016. It's not quite 2016, but it effectively is 2016.
I see.
Take
it.
Yeah. New Outlook sucks so much. Like, Jesus Christ. It is so bad. The worst part is there is massive behind-the-scenes programming improvements to how new Outlook operates over Classic Outlook. But the GUI is just so fucking dog shit. It's
Yeah,
like,
I'm getting kind of sick of them rearranging everything in every fucking program these days.
yeah, it is. It's literally the equivalent of you getting like a '93 Impala, and you're putting a new, fucking V10 engine in there, and you clean it all up, and then you're like, all right, so for the filing touches, we're going to replace the interior with foam and rubber. We're going to take out all of the wood paneling. That's going to be plastic now. And the steering wheel is only going to go straight. And there won't be a brake anymore. You just have to do less gas. And it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Why did you think that was a good plan? It is literally that level of baffling. Because I'll be helping someone with Outlook, and they'll be like, I can't find this thing. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't find that thing? And I'm like, on their computer, I'm looking around on New Outlook. I'm like, what the fuck? And so I search it up. Yeah, Microsoft has made the executive decision to remove this function. That's been in Outlook since the initial Outlook release back in '93. And it's like, why would you remove the ability to forward emails as attachments?
They took that away?
Yeah, it's just like, what the fuck are you... And then, you know what else they took away? They took away the ability to recall emails.
I mean, that only ever worked inside your organization anyway, so...
Yes, but they left the function in. It just doesn't do anything now.
Oh!
Like, you can still click on an email and hit recall, and then it just sends you an email an hour later saying, sorry, we failed to recall it. And it's just like, what the fuck is the point of that, then?
I mean, it's a little funny. Give you false hope.
Is this a rare occasion where it actually can't, or it won't? It literally can't. Like, it is... They just flat out removed some functions from New Outlook that Classic Outlook can do without issue. And it is just... It's so bad with New Outlook that they've included a button to report functionalities that are missing. And if it gets enough reports, Microsoft will consider looking at it and re-adding it back to New Outlook. It just is, it's so dumb. Anyway, so this fucking guy.
Anyways, your story.
So this fucking guy. Which, by the way, I didn't know you could uninstall the default Apple Mail app from your phone. I didn't know that. You can, apparently. He did.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's bonkers.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that I'm not allowed to uninstall from my Android without just breaking the shit out of the OS.
Yeah. I just had no idea you could do that. But
I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but props for Apple allowing that.
But like the thing though is like that's baffling as fuck because the Mail app is how Apple iOS manages contact and address book sync.
Oh.
So it's just like you remove that and now you can't add accounts in to sync anything with. And it's just like, huh? Microsoft's over here loading shells into the shotgun to shoot themselves with, and Apple over here is guzzling paste, and it's like, how are you two the leaders?
Because they got hit at the beginning, unfortunately.
No, well, actually, it's actually quite simple how you can figure out how those two ended up being the leaders. All you have to do is you have to look over at what Linux is doing, and Linux is currently on its 75th child. It has given up giving it a new name. It is now just Mint 7, and
Really?
Also, all 75 children are autistic, and they all have different special needs. Like, you need to bang the drum really lightly for this one to make it calm down. It's like, okay. I'm starting to understand why people adopted Mac and Windows.
Yeah, listen, for all my complaints about Windows, you open a computer and you know what you're gonna get, and you know it's gonna work. It may not do everything you like, and it's probably spying on all your information, but it does work.
Yeah, I mean, it only took like 3 decades of Linux users coding their own GUIs for Linux to go, oh, people like GUIs. We should put those in our OSs. It's like, no fucking shit, you don't say.
What? People like ease of access? No.
Wait,
No,
They don't still use command line to pull up their email?
no. Hey, don't get me wrong. I did that once. That was fun.
Okay, yes.
But like, I get it. Very lightweight. Thumbs up across the board. Linux is the most lightweight shit you can have in existence. However, nobody but artisans buy the lightweight bicycle. Right? No, like, no one but the most, like, perfectionist, extremist bicycle riders buy the carbon fiber, lightweight, hollow, collapsible bicycle. Everyone
I'm
else
biking to the
goes
library,
out.
buddy.
Huh?
I'm biking to the library.
Right.
Like, I don't.
Right.
This weighs 2 pounds.
It weighs
Okay.
half a pound and can fold to fit into your backpack. It's like, but I just want to ride it. I want my bicycle to take me to another place that's close by.
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
and it's like, oh, it comes in 39 pieces and you have to assemble it yourself, and if you assemble one piece wrong, the whole thing collapses. You have to start again, and you won't know if everything was assembled correctly until you get on the bicycle and start riding it. It's like, oh.
It probably won't collapse for a good 2 seconds, for a good 5 seconds, though. Just long enough for you to think you've made it.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, I can start to see why people adopted Mac and Windows. But anyway, so this guy, so he is just like the least helpful user in existence. He's the user that calls in, they want your help, but they don't want to do anything you're telling them to do to fix their problem. And I have to enter this, like, fucking negotiating game at every step of the way. And it's like, do you want me to fix your issue or not? So this guy, I eventually get him to download Outlook. I get him to open it up. I'm like, okay, hit add user. He's like, all right, so I have the user screen now. I'm like, okay, good. Enter your email. Hit add user. It's like, okay, well, it's asking for exchange data now. I'm like, are you sure about that? Are you sure it didn't come up with a screen asking you to select source? He's like, no, it didn't do that. Well, it fucking did. I know it fucking did. Because, fun little fact, you literally can't skip that. And I've done this hundreds of times now. So I'm very familiar with how the app operates. So we enter a 45 fucking circular discussion about how he doesn't want to admit he is doing it wrong. Eventually, I fix every problem but putting Outlook onto his phone. According to him. I escalate that task. And wouldn't you fucking know it, the task that got escalated, one of my homies goes on, looks at the sign-in logs for this guy, because this dude sent a fucking email that had the auto append text Outlook from mobile. So my homie goes on to the goddamn admin page, checks for sign-ons, and sees that actually his iPhone did correctly add in his account that I've been trying to help him add in for the past 45 fucking minutes, and he just refused to accept I did it right. So that's not the end of the story. Because then my homie proceeds to fucking send me screenshots of my manager shit-talking me about being useless on the task. And it's like, motherfucker. I do... Literally, I have the stats page. I do 3 times more work than every fucking leech on this team. And not only do I do more work, I have twice as many happiness reports than anyone else on the fucking team as well. And I've been here for a year, they've been here for 4.
You know what that sounds like to me, Sneaky? That sounds like a real easy HR complaint.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I don't want to get my friend in trouble because, you know, he's the only good tier 2 we have in the team that I have access to. We have a separate half of the team that has a bunch of great tier 2s on them, but I'm not allowed to talk to them because we have to separate the team, even though we're, air quotes, one big family.
I see.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Totally.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a little bit
That
testy.
feels more like a crowd control attempt
It was. So we
to
used to
make
have,
sure that there's no mutiny.
Yeah, well, we used to have one giant chat, where we could all talk about our tasks and various solutions. And you learned a lot from just being in that chat, because someone would come in and be like, hey guys, I'm a tier 1, I have this problem, and then all the tier 2s would be like, have you tried this, have you tried this, here's this programming, here's this article, and I would just fucking click everything because, well, A, I was bored, but B, this is good information to know for whenever I encounter it. It's part of why I look so fucking competent whenever we get calls, because I pay attention, and someone's like, oh, I have this problem, and me, with my fucking book knowledge super brain, which only remembers everything that is not critically important at the time I'm reading it.
Yes.
Goes, oh, I recognize this issue from that article they linked 3 months ago. This is how you solve it. Clack, clack, clack. Fixed. And they're like, oh, wow, you got it done so fast, Sneaky. I'm like, yeah. It's 'cause I fucking
Imagine that.
read some random article 3 months ago. But yeah, the manager was like, no, these people must be separated. I must divide you like Noah did the Red Sea, or Moses did the Red Sea.
Yeah. Honestly, if you're in a somewhat small business, I think that's a major red flag in like an IT firm, where suddenly the chats are split. Because I used to be able to see everything that happened with help desk at my previous job, and then a year and a half into the job, suddenly, chat traffic just like
Nuked.
overnight just dropped,
Mm.
and people only use the chat to be like, hey, I'm going on lunch. I realized at some point after that, it's like, oh, they made a separate chat for some reason so the people in the warehouse can no longer see what's going on in help desk, which is a not great idea because we had people in warehouse that wanted to eventually get to help desk.
Well,
Yes,
we
they
can't
want
have
you
the
to stay
plebs
there.
moving. Yeah.
No, quite literally, like they
Oh yeah.
made some changes and let some people on about being able to go to the help desk from warehouse. The only person we've had
Yeah.
leave the warehouse was someone who started on the help desk and then was put in the warehouse as a last chance, and then they managed to claw their way back up. Because as it turns out, a good way to get someone to give a shit about their job is to put them around people who give a shit about quality work.
No. That
No.
will never happen.
Like, at the time they were put in the warehouse, we were all pretty big on making sure that we put the best quality out that we could. So, otherwise, if you start at the warehouse at that company, get fucked. You're never leaving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
We
it's
have one
just,
dude who's we had one guy. He was transitioning to the help desk
uh-huh.
for a full year.
Yes.
When I left, he still had not been transitioned over to help desk fully.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, like, I played the good old legendary I have a disability card. That got me transitioned out of that fucking shit pretty quick. That was good stuff. Back when they, help desk was having those issues with needing me to drive everywhere. And I was I was fine with that at first, but then they just started asking me to do more and more. And I was like, okay, well, no. And they're like, but we really need you to do this. So I'm like, but I'm blind! And wow, I've never been transferred out of that so quickly.
I am legally blind. Here's my doctor's note.
Yeah.
Because that immediately came like, oh shit, if he gets in an accident while in company time, we technically have to pay for it.
Oh, not only pay for it, take full liability because they sent me out knowing it.
Yeah, they sent a half-blind man out on the road. In this state's traffic, are you crazy?
You know what the saddest thing was? Even out there, I was getting glowing reviews. Because, like, all these fucking wannabe professionals, air quotes, fucking on-siters, they would be showing up and with, like, fucking button-down, the business casual level of shit, right? There's supposed to be some big fucking glasses sneaking. Oh, no. I'm not blind because of bad eyesight. I am blind because of nerve degradation.
Yeah, no, he is literally blind in one eye.
Yeah,
This isn't not a
I'm
glasses
blind
thing.
in both eyes for different reasons.
Glasses aren't gonna fix it, not in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
Sneaky, high five to the Neurological Damage Club.
Yeah.
Sneaky and Atin are part of that club that they'll never be able to enjoy VR until we have actual full dive technology.
Yeah, more or less.
Because their brain won't interpret the signal correctly.
Well, no, to be clear, like we can still do. I can do VR at least.
I can do VR sort of. It's just not
my
as
right eye
great,
pretty
yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sneaky, I don't know if it's like this for you, but does your brain prioritize
My right eye, yeah.
one eye
Yeah.
vision? Which, and yes, I know what people are about to say. No, it's not a fucking stigmatism.
It's a stigmatism.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that I have a lazy eye. It's that my brain is prioritizing input from, in my case, the left eye.
I got to experience that when Atin stayed with me for a week, and I went to hand
God.
him a glass of water, and then I was like, he's not moving his hand any further. I'm just gonna put that a little closer.
No, but really, like that's like one of the best examples because the glass was on my right side, and even though my brain uses both my left and my right eye, it doesn't connect the two images.
Yeah.
So there's essentially anything on my right side has about like, I don't know, 1/4 inch gap between where my brain says it is and where it may actually be in reality.
Yeah, I would say.
Also, the other thing
maybe
that,
1 to 3 inches. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the other thing that Max was able to test was I remember telling Max, I'm like, listen, just at some point during the visit with no warning, lightly throw something non-hazardous at me, and you'll watch me absolutely have no idea where it is.
See, it's actually funny. So,
I think you lightly tossed me the remote or something, but like
it's bad.
If I'm like focused on it, I can kind of get it. I'm still gonna fumble it.
I'm actually the opposite, and it's so fucking funny, right? So my left eye, I have extreme dyslexia. Like, my left eye's dyslexia is so bad they consider me blind. I am physically incapable of understanding shapes with my left eye. That's how bad it is.
Hmm.
I can look at a stop sign and be like, that's an octagon. And then I can close my right eye and I can look at the stop sign again, and my brain will be like, I don't know what this object is.
Okay, so your object permanence is also stored in your right eye.
Well, no, because
That
it's like
I didn't realize that was what your specific vision problem was. I just know that
Yeah.
technically you probably shouldn't be driving at all.
The left eye's vision it's not 20/20, it's like 25/20. So it's not like normal besides that, but like if I close my left eye, I can see effectively normally. And that's because I had nerve damage in my eye, not in my eye, in my optical nerve along the nerve. Nothing to do with my eye. Actual brain damage was part of that as well.
Woo! Brain damage.
Yeah, and
Although I've now joined the astigmatism club.
Oh, yeah?
Because first week after not being at my job anymore, I was like, I should go get my vision checked while I've still got those benefits.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, yeah, since your last visit, like, to 11 or 12 years ago, you went from a 1.0 and a 0.75 to 0.5. I was like, oh, yeah, so you've got a slight astigmatism. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
What do? Just wear these glasses when you're doing nearsighted work. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and then my right eye is, I have no fucking idea how bad it is. All I know is I have a 3.75 lens for my right eye.
I don't even
Isn't
remember
that
what it
pretty
is.
strong?
Fairly strong, yeah.
Ugh.
And that's my right eye was actually fine when I was born. But the doctors said that because my left eye was so bad, they needed to destroy my right eye to make my brain use my left eye again. And so they did that. Now you might understand why I have issues with both of my parents. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they did that for like 8 years. So that was, yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. It turns out, you know, when you put something in your child's eye and he screams, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, I can't see, and you ignore that for 8 years, it causes vision loss. So yeah, that's why I'm partially blind and legally blind according to the state of New Jersey. But we are not here to speak about such things. They are in the past. What we are here to speak about, however, that is also in the past, is a fan fiction that has been posted and brings equal amounts of suffering to everyone that hears it. And I thought we would visit a classic today. A true classic. I was going to say Harry Potter, but then I realized Bleach would be even better. But we haven't visited the Harry Potter section in a little bit.
Wait. Sneaky.
No?
Let us combine the autism.
Oh, no. Okay.
The Harry Potter Bleach section.
That's fair enough.
You could always just go back to Fate's Gamble.
We could, if we wanted brain damage, which I think I have enough of.
I'd rather not increase. I would rather not put more dots in brain damage. 712 Bleach Harry Potter stories. That is
too many.
715 too many.
Yeah.
Also, I regret to report that
Yeah.
Twitch.tv/True Sneaky Devil is now one of my suggested when I start typing TW.
Yeah, I wonder why that might be. Also, the curtain is still down.
Yep, I will be
transitioning.
transitioning.
I hate seeing the reality tearing 6 just at the very edges of those fucking bandages. I hate it so much.
It's lucky 7. So another thing, another little quick little happy fun time story. So I introduced my co-workers to the most depressing fact of the year, which is the massive spike in people Googling, "Why do my eyes hurt?" after the solar eclipse. A massive number of people Googled this.
Oh, yeah, I've seen several of those graphs posted
Yeah.
over the last 2 days.
Yeah, and then we went even further and we looked up some of the other posts about it, and people were doing shit like burning glasses and then using the suit on the glasses to protect their eyes while they looked at the sun.
I actually had a really good time with the eclipse. My sister's a physics student, and we went up onto the roof of her department in the university, and we got to look through telescopes and stuff. It's really cool.
Good, yeah. Yeah, I mean, just remember the all of those people that blinded themselves looking at the sun.
They
Their
can
vote
vote.
is worth as much as yours, and there are more of them than you. Yep. So just go to sleep with that knowledge now forever in your brain.
To circle back to the fanfic, though,
Yeah.
I do think that a Bleach Harry Potter crossover is one of those things that it doesn't even really sound good on paper.
No.
It's like,
Not at all.
Oh gosh, no.
You have to be literally stupid to write a Bleach Harry Potter crossover.
it's mixing two foods that don't go together, like ice cream and barbecue.
It's like making a taco out of watermelons and lettuce.
Yeah, just two entirely different patterns of story, two entirely different narrative structures, entirely disconnected themes.
The settings are not great, yeah.
I mean, your best case scenario, you're having to put in the work to build basically an entirely original world. Worst case scenario, it's just going to be disjointed and non-functional.
Well, I mean, not only that, it's just like the power systems are just so non-comparable. Like, Harry Potter, he shoots the stun spell, and then the guy who can run at the speed of sound dodges it super easily.
And shoots you with 1,000 flaming dragons made out of lightning, because that's just the magic they do.
Yeah. And then Harry Potter doesn't dodge that because, well, he's a normal person who moves at normal person speeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I did a fic that was years ago at this point.
Okay, you say can coal HP doesn't work, but it kind of sort of works fine because nothing in Harry Potter inherently makes can coal not work, and can coal has a very loose magic system that's only sort of implied, and on top of that, they're all ships, so yes, technically speaking, Harry Potter would be very ineffectual versus fucking ships, but also at the same time, yeah. Anyway, you were saying you made an old fic?
Yeah, it was Harry Potter and PJO, and even simply updating Albus for the new fic involved completely redesigning his combat style, having him use magic in ways that was never used in the books or the movie, and it I enjoyed writing it, and I might go back to it someday because I did have fun with it. But it was basically almost completely original content when it came to how the power systems work together.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, I've seen a couple of fics like that, and they generally the magical community gets waved off as, oh, these are the great grandchildren of one of the demigods of magic, etc., etc. And it's like, okay, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. I feel like their culture would be impacted to a certain extent.
Just a tad.
If
Yeah,
all of the other mythological creatures were real and the masquerade was ongoing and the gods were going around doing quests and shit, and basically Age of Gods tier magic was still going.
the way I handled it was that because it only got about a dozen chapters in before just life got in the way. But
Yeah.
Hogwarts was a strict neutral ground. No god whatsoever under any circumstances allowed to enter without explicit permission, because there is absolutely zero tolerance of godly BS around other gods' kids, because that's how you get a war. And
Well, I mean, to be fair, the Irish and British Isles in general, really, they kind of have claim to a bunch of god-killing gods. So,
yeah, and Albus in particular wasn't interested in that happening around children. But I had Fox actually be like a Sealy Court Phoenix that Albus had actually sold his soul to in exchange for the power to protect Hogwarts, and that upon his death, Albus would end up becoming a Phoenix. No longer human, no longer belongs to the mundane world in any way whatsoever,
right.
and changed irrevocably. But that was his whole shtick. Was Fox backs him up, and that's how he's able to stand up to a moderate degree.
Sure.
The Phoenix says, "Get off my lawn."
Yeah, literally. The way Albus's death was going to work was actually that Tom was going to go convince a god, I think it was Balder, and Balder just wanted to die. He wanted his suffering over, he wanted to fade and to cease to exist, but he could not. And so Balder does carry out an attack on Hogwarts, and Albus essentially taps directly into Hogwarts itself, which is located on a nest of ley lines, and his body starts instantaneously disintegrating. Physically impossible to contain this much magic.
Right, sure.
And Fox simply regenerates him infinitely over the course of the fight, over and over and over and over again, as Albus's very being is consumed to fuel his last stand.
Yeah, sure.
A
classic male fantasy.
Yeah. But at that point, that's entirely original content.
Sure.
And I think, Sneaky, you in particular have pointed this out to me. A lot of what I do would just be better off not as a fic, but as its own story.
I mean, pretty much at the end of the day, like, a lot of people come up with some semi-decent ideas, and it's definitely hampered by the fact that you have to go around telling everyone it's a Harry Potter PJO story. Because it's just like, a lot of the baggage that the fandoms bring with them of like, oh, the gods have to act like this, magic has to work like that, these plots have to be ongoing, because then otherwise it's not a PJO story, it's not a Harry Potter story, etc., etc. Voldemort has to show up. It's kind of just like, well, just don't write a fanfic.
As to explain the disconnect, though, the way we handled it is that the magical British community was so insular, isolated, and disconnected that they had, in many cases, forgotten a lot.
That's fair.
But also,
it happens.
Yeah, they were a post-scarcity society with many cases massively extended lifespans that could, with a flick of their hand, literally summon almost endless wealth, food, and resources.
Yeah.
So they had just kind of not had to deal with problems or evolve or change in a meaningful way until some lunatic went, "Hey, I am really salty, and I'm gonna make that everybody else's problem."
A famous European proposition.
the old world's most reoccurring issue.
Yeah. I am an incredibly salty person, and everyone is about to have issues.
I've woken up on the wrong side of the bed, and I can cast Explosion.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, as far as Bleach Harry Potter goes, it just doesn't work, because Harry Potter's magic system is very soft magic, very low tier soft magic. It's practically in line in. I know everyone likes to say it's high magic, but it's not. I would say it's almost in line with Lord of the Rings in how low magic it is. Because
actually, no, because most of their stuff is like enchanted items for most effects they achieve.
Yeah. And not
stuff
only
like
that, it's like, oh, we need to use magic for this scene. What do we use? I use this unlocking charm. It unlocks doors.
I mean, Lumos is basically just Gandalf manifesting light at the tip of his staff.
Yeah, exactly. It's very low tier magic, and then it's like, oh, but they use like the killing curse. It's like, yes, but you know what the killing curse is a lot like? It's like shooting an arrow at someone.
I mean, it's a bit more than that, but
Not really. I mean, it gets blocked by solid objects.
That's true.
And it goes in a straight line. And only certain people are allowed to cast it in the show.
Actually, on top of that, it's very similar to a lot of Sauron's Morgul magic in general, which involves usually indirect curses of madness, weakness, and decay.
Sure, but I'm more talking about in terms of application tier. Like, it's not like, oh, I summon forth this great golem who will now fight my battles for me. It's the theatrical equivalent of stabbing someone. Harry Potter doesn't go around with a sword stabbing people. He casts the stunning. He casts the stunning charm, which, oh, what's that? They get hit once and then they drop to the ground. Wow, that sure sounds like Hollywood combat with a sword to me.
Oh,
oh, what's that? Voldemort casts killing curse. Oh, it travels in a straight line. If it hits someone, doesn't matter where, they die anyway, and it can be blocked by physical objects by someone ducking around a tree. That sure sounds like I just shot a bow at you, in Hollywood speak. So
honestly, it's more like Hollywood gun.
Effectively, I mean, yes, but I'm comparing it to Lord of the Rings here,
Yeah.
so I'm using. But like that's what I'm saying though, is like it's not like this grand magic of like, oh, we're all gonna like turn incorporeal and like float through these objects that would have normally been obstacles. We're not gonna like.
That's actually what the Astari can do. They are very much capable of high fantasy magic stuff.
They just
very rarely.
Yeah, exactly. But that's my point, though, is technically speaking, Harry Potter is capable of doing crazy shit. Technically speaking. But we never actually see it in the books.
And what we do see is very rarely kept straight. For
Exactly.
example, the infinite house in a box that Moody has.
Yeah.
Doesn't he have like 7 or 8 rooms or something in a chest?
Yes.
That's hell impressive dimensional compression, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, but like that's what I'm talking about. Like Harry Potter, despite pretending it's high fantasy, it's quite literally low fantasy in how it uses its magic.
Yeah.
It's very single use, not used even that often. A lot of enchanted items are typically used. And it's usually more about the scene than about the magic they're using. Like, they're not shooting fireballs off and shit's not exploding everywhere, and they're not like, Dickus extendum, and, you know, the dick pops off and turns into a stone golem and beats the shit out of the person it got turned from. And, you know, there's a lot of shit you can do in high fantasy that's like, you know, D&D tier. Like the crazy spells in D&D, a cast fucking meteor, that's high fantasy. And Harry Potter does none of that, even though technically speaking, as far as we can tell, all of that's possible. It's just never done.
I would say, just a reminder, any what? Level 15 wizard can cast fucking Time Stop?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it gets crazier from there.
And Lord of the Rings is the same way. It's never done.
Yeah, and the Lord of the Rings, though, has, like, theological implications and all this other reasons why Astari don't do this and yada, yada, yada.
Sure.
Doesn't. It just doesn't do it, which means it might as well not be possible.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's the same reasoning, though, for Harry Potter. It's like, well, technically speaking, they could, and you can make arguments for situations where it would happen, but we actually don't have any written proof that they are actually capable of doing high magic. Oh, is what it is. Yeah, you know, no, man. You see, Atin and I, we got an unlimited supply. It comes daily by Amazon. Is what it is. But that brings me to Bleach. Bleach is absolutely high fantasy. It is extra high fantasy. Yes, my sword here. You see, I concentrated really hard. It turned into a girl. Then it turned into a 20-story building, and it doesn't weigh any different, and I can cut mountains with it now. Oh, what, the power-up word for this? Oh, no, I don't have to do anything special. I just go, bonky, and then it turns into a 20-story building, and I kill you.
Ta-da!
Also, I'm moving faster than sound.
Oh, and anyone can do that, by the way,
Yeah,
if they just...
Anyone can
You
do
just
it
gotta
also.
get good.
Yeah.
And the actual magic, which is allegedly weaker, is just like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to conjure skyscrapers of raw death, and throw them at you across time.
Oh yeah, this binding spell. Yeah, actually, I call upon the Japanese god of compelled duel, and it forces you to fight me, and you can't not fight me. Yeah. So eat shit.
Their allegedly low tier magic is actually like conceptual woo woo nonsense, which kind of scales Bleach pretty high.
Yeah. So it's like, oh yeah, Harry Potter's gonna fight these guys. It's like, doing what? Bleeding at them?
Yes, my flash step, my absolute basic technique that allows me to move faster than light.
Oh,
and you counter that with
nothing.
Was that Expelliarmus?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Drop your swordus.
Yeah. Drop the sword.
Isn't there like a 10-foot tall fox dude who's strong enough to like smash buildings with his bare hands?
Yes.
And he's like one of the normal captains. Too.
Yes.
He's not even special.
He's one of the losers.
Yeah, he's one of the weakest.
And part of the reason he's so weak is because when he gets hit, everyone, it's like, oh well, the big 10-foot clone takes the same damage you do, so
yeah, kind of easy to hit him.
Yeah, I think there's probably just the simple issue of, in general, Bleach moves way too fast for
yeah, I mean, like, initial arc Ichigo, that's the realm of Harry Potter.
even then, Harry Potter's probably gonna die. But
Well, yeah, because if Ichigo gets cut, he might reasonably well just tank a disemboweling blow.
Yeah.
If you do that to a wizard, they're dead.
Yeah.
well, not just that, right? But remember, season 1 of Ichigo culminates with shit, what's his name? Flower Petal Dickhead Captain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Rukia's older
he
brother.
punches through his spiritual core.
No,
Mhm.
but my point is, he shows up and says, "This is the power level." Like,
right, yeah. You thought this was a cute little starter arc? Hello, bitch. Actually, we're Saiyans. Dead.
I mean, heck, even Renji showing up with the magic extendo whip cut sword
Yeah.
is like, oh, I see. We've taken several steps up the scale.
Yes, yeah. Super Potatoes says, "What's the difference between high and low magic?" Okay, it's
Well, no. Okay,
it's
first
very
we need to be
rough.
specific. It's not high and low magic. It's high and low fantasy.
Yeah,
And
so
that you got to be specific in there. 'Cause
it's
that
4
affects the magic.
quadrants, effectively, right? So you have soft magic, which is magic is whatever I say it is. You have hard magic, which is D&D magic of, you do this dance, you say these words, you expend a spell slot, you can do that 3 times a day, and it does this effect, and it does
and
this
don't
effect
forget,
to this
part
speed.
of that, this is another thing that's important to mention, is a soft magic has almost no rules and very little explanation.
That's what I
Harry
just
Potter
said.
is all soft magic.
That's what I just said.
No, because there can be magic is whatever they say. Like the author just
That-
makes a little bit of stuff. Let me.
It-
I'm.
That's
My
what-
brain's not
it-
explaining it well.
It's what
but
I said. I said soft magic is whatever I say it is. And then hard magic is this whole structured system of how magic works, and there's a science behind it. And then you have high and low fantasy, where in low fantasy is magic exists, enchanted items may or may not exist, and it gets used, but the stuff that magic does only goes so far. This spell kills one person, and I have to point the spell at the person, and the spell has to travel in a straight line at the person, and then when it hits them, they die. It's a magical gun.
I would say you can also mix and match different things. Like dragon, the existence of a dragon is a very high fantasy creature, but pretty much all of the magic in Aragon is low magic.
Yes.
You're right. You're limited by the amount of life that you have, and right. D&D wizard casts levitate. It doesn't matter if he's a fucking pixie and would never be able to move that rock in real life, no matter how much effort he put into it.
Yeah. Well,
Aragon says move the rock. Aragon has to move the rock.
That's because, obviously, the reason why I put it as a quadrant system and not as like a category is because, much like the political compass, you don't just fall into this soft magic, low fantasy category and you can't move outside of that. It's a massive gradient of.
Actually, a good example of that gradient is, excuse me, A Song of Ice and Fire as it goes along.
Sure, yeah.
It goes from low to high fantasy, especially in the extra books. What is it? World of A Song of Ice and Fire.
Mm-hmm.
And fucking Haster just exists. By the way.
Oh, that's cool. Of course it does.
Yeah. Martin basically went and said, okay, well, I like some Lovecraft stuff. I like some Robert Chamberlain stuff. I like all these other ideas. And also I want to have beast folk. And also I want to actually just have, physical gods present in the setting.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, magic is totally dying and not important and totally has costs. But fire teleportation is also a thing people can just do casually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying is like, and the high and low fantasy gradient is not so much what the story actually is, but how the story is portrayed to the audience. Lord of the Rings, low fantasy. Technically, it's high fantasy. Harry Potter, low fantasy. Technically, it's high fantasy. But they're both stories in where the actual application of the magic to the audience is both rare and not uncommon in power. I can hide better. That's not really... melding with shadows, that's high fantasy magic. I put a cloak that makes it look like I'm not there, sort of.
Harry Potter basically doesn't have much magic that couldn't be accomplished through sufficiently advanced technology.
Or just action.
Yes.
I'm thinking there are some exceptions, time travel and the dimensional compression and teleportation. That stuff would genuinely, it would be on the grounds of, if it was in sci-fi, you're not going to have it in puristic sci-fi.
Sure, yeah.
But, invisibility, most of the spell effects, you could replicate a lot of what they do with just, a gun.
Yeah.
There's a lot of curses that allegedly exist but are never used on anyone, that are basically just, I'm shooting you differently.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say, is effectively it's like, oh, they got hit with the Jelly Lock Link's curse. It's like, okay, what does that do? Well, it makes their legs lock up and they fall over, and it incapacitates them. It's like, okay, so it's just the stun spell, but you called it something different, and it was a different color. Yes, effectively. It's like, what's this curse? Oh, this curse is the curse of you puke toads. Interesting. What does that do? It makes you puke toads.
Oh yeah, eat slugs. I remember now. But it's largely achieving the same effect as shooting someone in the chest with a rubber bullet.
Yeah, they get taken out of the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, again, to circle that back to the high fantasy is, I am casting conceptual magic to invoke the power of the three gods of light to unleash divine holy radiance, to scourge this place of the taint of evil for all time type stuff.
Well, I mean, it's not just that. I mean, it's also just, it's shit like casting Fireball, even. I mean, Fireball is a spell that exists in Harry Potter. It's also a spell no one fucking uses in Harry Potter.
Probably to keep that PG-13 rating.
Well, yes, but doesn't change the fact that it exists. Like, Bombarda, the explosion spell, is used, like, once, and it, like, blew up an entire room.
Yeah, it's like a mortar round, almost.
Yeah, and so... I would consider that like medium fantasy, because now you're getting into these wide area effect things that, technically speaking, yeah, it's like basically a mortar round, but you don't use a mortar round in the middle of a fight. Like, you're not in a firefight and some dude just fucking runs into the room with a mortar and is like, aha! It's just the mortar down the pipe. Like, that doesn't fucking happen.
Oh my god.
Can you fucking imagine?
Yes, I can. I've actually seen videos of exactly that happen. A dude had a homemade mortar on the back of a shopping cart, and he moved it into a house and attempted to use it as a CQB weapon.
Interesting. I'm sure that went over fantastically.
He missed, in that specific video I'm talking about, he missed completely, blew a hole through the house, and it exploded in midair.
Amazing.
Some of the body cam footage out there is just Looney Tunes, and some of it is very, very dark.
That's the problem with J.K. Rowling. She wrote a kid's series that morphed into young adults. So no. That was the success of J.K. Rowling. Every major book success that has happened for our generation grew up with the generation it was advertising to. It wasn't trying to pull a Pokemon and try and get that mythical wider audience of constantly trying to gain more people by just not changing anything. It grew
Thanks
up.
for having me on, guys. It's time to cook dinner.
See you, man.
And good luck,
Hey, good luck.
everybody. Hope you save a few brain cells.
We will not.
There was still a bit of an issue in terms of the power levels. I would disagree. It brought tone shifts. Sure, certainly, but I would still disagree when it came to the power levels. I mean, fucking DBZ existed. That was for effectively kids. You know, Bleach existed. That was for effectively kids.
Yeah.
Fucking dark as shit Bleach was. Still for kids. You know, there was a bunch of shows. I mean, not just animes. I mean, you know, there was a bunch of shit that's hella dark. Wizards at War was about 6-year-olds going off to fight Satan.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how much darker you can get with that, and that was for fucking 10 to 14-year-olds. Like, what anime is that? Wizards at War. It's not an anime. It's a book series. Basically, it's kids next door, in where children. Magic is based off of imagination, and so children who have the greatest imagination are the strongest wizards, and they can some kids who truly have, you know, grand imaginations are capable of tapping into magic and making their imagination reality. And the reason why there's always crises going around is because only children are capable of doing magic, because as you grow older, you lose the imagination you had as a child, and you try to start sciencing magic, which causes it to become less and less powerful. And so children have to constantly go around, and so you literally have a knowledge debt built into the system that explains why the 100-year-old mentor can't go off and save the day. Yeah, the reason why Satan's the villain is because it was written by a Christian. That's all there is to it. But yeah. So, that was a fucking dark as shit series. Like, literally, like, these, like, 6 to 8-year-olds are going around deciding the fate of entire species, because once a species reaches a certain level of sapience, reality gives them a choice, is they can either follow Satan and become powerful worshippers of Satan, or they can choose free will. And the free will doesn't give you any benefits besides not being bound into a slave contract to Satan. But you can choose to bow to Satan at any time to get power-ups. And the entire species has to make a choice every time. And so yeah, no, don't worry about it, bro. Don't worry about it. And so the kids have to go stop Satan. Madoka Magica was for kids. That is true. Oh god. doesn't even make ontological sense. Don't worry about it, bro. The fucking 4-year-old accidentally left her laptop on a silica-filled world, and she was thinking about what if AI was a cool thing, and so her laptop gained sentience and merged with the silica world, and it created an entire species of robots. And they had this whole arc where the child became the god queen of this robot planet. And she had to, at the end of the arc, learn to let go of the species and let them choose free will of whether to serve Satan or not.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Bro, every time I go to take any kind of break from this fucking show, get up and go to the bathroom, wild shit. Get up and get a drink, wild shit. Finish burying the hooker in the backyard, wild as shit.
Yeah, what can I say? I am just a fountain of surprises. Anyway, so yeah, let's get into Bleach Harry Potter and see why Bleach Harry Potter is such a bad idea. So, of course, to start off this section, we have a classic of V2. Birth of a Soul, V2. It has the same concept as an Old Soul Reborn, where Harry manages to go into his soul in order to retreat from his family, who, of course, heavily abuses him. And that's how it starts. One action changes the future, where Harry unlocks soul powers because he was able to meditate really hard. I don't think that's how that works, author. I don't think that's how that works. But let's take a look. And we'll post that here. And we'll post that here. Oh, this guy writes other stories. Oh boy, his grammar's fucking awful in this author's note. I sure hope it's better in his actual story.
Of course it is.
One day, after yet all capitalized another beating by his monster of uncle with fat cousin horse ant, either cheered his uncle on or just sat there not caring, Harry felt not capitalized. Very capitalized, powerful desire to retreat into Mindscape. However, Harry believed it imagination, but we get to difference later. Anyway, as Harry laid there in cupboard where he grew up, Harry decided to retreat somewhere only he could access his Mindscape. Didn't you just say he felt the urge to retreat into his Mindscape, but then didn't? Harry Potter domain expansion. Yeah. In his mindscape, Harry saw Cave deciding quickly so none of family could get their hands on him. Harry ran inside. He went into his mind, which he knew about, and saw a cave, and decided if I run into the cave in my mind, then my family can't chase me into the cave. Huh? What do you mean? What? No, speaking of which, so I watch a lot of shit on YouTube, right? and I saw a caving video one time, and I, by the way, hate caving videos. I think people who go caving are psychopathic and need to be given the huggy shirt, where you get to hug yourself forever inside of a very soft room. Those people are a menace to society, and they scare me. So anyway, these cavers were going through this cave that's publicly accessible, and tours go through it. And they were on the main path of the tour, and then they saw a tiny sand-filled gap. And said, yo, wouldn't it be cool if we dug out this gap a little bit filled with sand and crawled through it?
Oh my god.
So they did that. The three of them proceeded to dig out the sand a little bit, and then they crawled into this gap where they had approximately no fucking space above them. And it was one person wide. So they couldn't turn around. And if they ever had to back up, they would quickly block themselves in. No, it gets worse. So they crawl for like 15 minutes in this tiny, compressed space with no clear sign of them actually ever reaching a point where they could turn around, until they find a gap, a big gap. They could stand up in this gap. And it led to a room, a sand pit. And they go into the sand pit, and they're shining their light around, and like, holy shit, there's someone in here. And it was this 8-year-old child who, for some fucking reason, decided to wander off from her parents without a light. Like,
What the shit?
like, to be clear, the cave wasn't lit. You had to bring flashlights for this tour. She didn't have a flashlight. She just wandered off from her parents during the tour without a flashlight and decided to crawl in this immensely small, cramped hole for 10 minutes. Like several hours ago.
Fuck.
And they're like, oh god, holy shit, oh god. And the kid doesn't speak English. Because, of course not. And so, they... somehow, their phone had fucking signal down there. And so they were able to look up Spanish to talk to this girl, to get her to come with them.
Oh my god.
And so then they turned around and crawled back through the hole again for another 10 minutes through this tiny compressed gap, and then went to the tour facility and were like, hey, we found this child. And then the parents were there, and they're like, oh my god, you found our child, holy shit. And the guy was just like, I'm so glad we decided to go down this tiny little narrow gap. Otherwise, this child who was in the dark, who would have never been heard by anyone, would have just died alone in this cave, not knowing where she was, and the parents would have never found her. It's like, on one hand, I'm glad she was found. On the other hand, she wandered off from her parents without a flashlight in a foreign country, in a cave that she doesn't know, and decided to just crawl into a narrow hole.
Okay, here's my counterpoint. She's literally 8. She's still at the point where children are essentially idiots. And more importantly, like, to me, the problem here is not the 8-year-old wandering off and doing something
There's
stupid.
the parents not noticing. Yeah, I know.
It's the parents not noticing. Like,
but
Jesus.
I mean, like, it was a very... My point was more along the lines of, I recognize it's an 8-year-old. My point is more along the lines of, this series of events was so fucking stupid that maybe it was just not meant to be. Maybe the parents should have just tried again. Because I don't know. I feel like there's wandering off and doing stupid things because you're a kid and you don't know the danger of it. And then there's wandering off and deciding to jump off a cliff to see if you can fly. Level of stupid. And it's like, maybe that second group, maybe it just wasn't meant to be. Like, maybe that's just nature doing some selection there. I'm glad she was found. Just want to be clear there. I'm glad she was found. But that was a monumentally stupid thing to do. Beyond stupid thing to do. Like, there was multiple signs. Stop. No. Don't go. Don't enter. Danger, danger, danger. You will die. That she just ignored.
All right, listen. I feel like listen. That's the fucking DW meme. This sign can't stop me. I can't read.
Yes.
In this case, they couldn't read that language.
Okay, but my point more along that there's not literal signs. I'm talking about metaphorical signs of, okay, you're in a cave, you wander away from your parents. It's like, all right, that's no biggie, really. I mean, it's like, it's a tour cave. It's not like you're doing a caving experience where it's an unexplored cave or a barely explored cave. It's a tour cave. Hundreds of people walk through it every day. You getting lost is just a matter of you ending up with another tour group, and then they bring you out to your parents.
Yeah.
You do it without a flashlight. Okay, so you're probably going to trip and fall and hurt yourself. Someone's going to hear your cries, and then they're going to bring you back to your parents. You decide to run into a hyper narrow space where the only way to get through it is to crawl with your face dragging in the sand for 15 minutes. And you didn't think at any point of those 15 minutes as you're dragging your face through the sand, scraping your body along the very narrow chute you are crawling through. Hey, maybe I shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
Now, someone did bring up in the comments of this whole video that maybe she's not stupid. Maybe the reason why she didn't want to go with the cavers who found her initially, and why they had to coax her with chocolate and Spanish to come with them, was because she was being chased.
Yeah. Or it's possible those aren't her fucking parents.
Yeah. So, to be fair though, as far as I heard, she didn't resist trying to run away from the people that claimed to be her parents. So, Maybe she gave up. Maybe they were actually her parents. The dumbest thing I did as a kid was poke mannequin boobs. Yeah, I think we all did that. Dumbest thing I did as a kid.
Whew.
I mean, I ran on slate and granite that was wet. I might have burned myself on the oven before. I don't think so, though. I think I watched my sister burn herself on the oven, and I just kind
I
of was
never
like,
burned
ah,
myself.
oven hot.
I never broke any bones.
Yeah, neither did I.
Which ironically, it turns out that breaking your bones is actually good for you, as long as you live.
No, Killing you don't understand. This wasn't just a wet surface. This was fucking granite. Okay? This is like, we're talking like, slapping lube on a frictionless surface.
Why were you doing that?
Because my mother replaced the entire backyard pool area with granite slabs.
Oh my god. That is asking for a cracked child's
How
skull.
is she that stupid? Oh, the concrete's slightly softer and at least there's some grip.
Yeah.
Oh, dumbest thing. I feel like most people my age,
Dumb
within like
ways to die.
within 4 years of my age, both older and younger, we did a lot of stupid shit as a kid.
Hmm.
We were still part of that like outdoor generation up until middle or high school.
Hmm. The dumbest thing I did as a kid was after burning my hand, I put my hand back on the stove.
You didn't learn your lesson. Apparently.
maybe it's just like
I don't even know the dumbest thing I did as a kid. Like,
I
I
went
had the
adventuring on the
clothing
mountain.
iron. I had the clothing iron incident a lot of kids had, like first or second degree burns. I've had my large toenail jammed back into my toe. That was fun as a 7-year-old.
I never climbed trees.
Large cut open on my forehead because someone managed to slam a porta potty door open, and boy, turns out metal versus malleable child head. Guess what wins?
Yes, that does tend to go poorly.
Stupid bicycle stunt riding with my cousins up north.
Yeah, and I never did any stupid bicycle stunts.
I really didn't do a lot of stupid stuff as a kid. Like,
honestly, I did a lot of stupid stuff as a kid, and I'm only just like, I don't think it's abnormal for me. I don't talk about these stories because that was just like the norm in my entire family. We did stupid shit as kids outside.
Okay.
From my grandparents all the way down to my generation.
Throwing rocks at a cottonmouth. I think that might have been the stupidest thing I did as a kid.
You say that, but the cottonmouth should have fucked off.
It did.
Yeah. If anything, as stupid as that was, it was probably also the smartest thing you could do in the situation. Or one of the smarter things. You could have just walked right up to it and tried to pet it.
Yeah. Didn't do that.
As a teenager, you put a car through the bedroom window.
How'd you fucking manage that?
I got out and left it in drive.
The only thing that would make this more impressive is finding out the bedroom was on the second or third floor. Oh, good. He went the opposite direction.
You fucking idiot.
Bro was one floor underground level.
Still managed to get a car through the window. I did stupid stuff, but no, not like, oh, this was blatantly stupid. Like, it was stupid stuff, but it wasn't even like safe stupid either. It was just dumb. Like, oh, we started a fight. We started a campfire down at the DMR, and I threw a bunch of leaves on the campfire. Later it turns out those leaves were poison oak. But like, no one told me what poison oak was, or why I shouldn't throw it on the fire. So I was just told to go grab stuff to start the fire with. So I did. So like it's like, was that stupid? Yes, but it wasn't like this is a situation anyone could look at and go, that's stupid. No, it wasn't. So you told a fucking 7-year-old to go grab Bernie stuff, and he went and grabbed a bunch of Bernie stuff. And later it turned out the Bernie stuff was dangerous, but like, how was the kid supposed to know that?
Yeah.
We catapulted water balloons at canoers. I guess that was stupid. I would say that was pretty stupid. The water balloon catapults where you have two people hold it and then one person pulls it back and
oh my god, you could have killed someone.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, that was stupid, and that the adults were the ones helping us do that. And we had this whole shrub cover too, so no one was able to tell on the lake where these water balloons were coming from. But we were fucking nailing people in the head and shit and knocking them out of the canoe. No one like got too badly hurt. No ambulances were called, at least.
That you know about.
Not too bad. Yeah, not too bad. My cousins up north and I would scrape sprinklers apart and just gather them into napkins to get really big, sparkly fireworks.
My God,
that's dumb. That's dumb. That's dumb.
That dangerous. Sparklers aren't explosive.
No, they're not. But
Now the poppers, those were explosive, but that was just two rocks slamming into each other to ignite a bundle of sawdust. So not much you can do with that.
I banged on a maple syrup tank before, which again wasn't stupid because nothing happens if you bang on a maple syrup tank. It's not like a fucking natural gas canister and it pops off. It was just a tank that was not full of maple syrup because they emptied the maple syrup from it. So I banged on it because it made a bing, boom, boom, boom sound. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, it makes funny noise.
Turns out there was a hornet's nest inside the tank of maple syrup that was now emptied.
You fucking idiot.
Full of hornets who didn't appreciate their home vibrating.
Oh boy.
They decided to inform you of this.
Yes. I heard the buzzing and I have never run the mile faster.
Oh, wait, no. You know what? There was something pretty. You've unlocked a memory for me.
Oh, it gets even better. So, this maple syrup tank is at the bottom of the hill, and it's a fucking mountain. And the driveway goes up the mountain, and the driveway is also gravel. And I bang on it, and I hear bzzz. I'm like, oh no! My older stepsister, who's standing next to me, she also looks at the tank and goes, run! So we're fucking booking it up the mountain as hard as possible. And my little sister is walking down the mountain, and we fly right by her, and we scream, run! And instead of doing anything, she stands there, turns around and looks at us and goes, why are you guys running? And then starts screaming in pain as the hornets start stinging her.
Yeah, so there are two core memories that have been unlocked here. The first is the time that we found a wasp nest on my garage.
Uh-oh.
Now, we knew that wasps were dangerous and they could hurt.
Yeah, of
And we
course.
wanted to get rid of the wasp nest because it was like in the driveway and keeping us from getting
anything
in and out
done.
of the garage
Yeah.
easily. Now, we couldn't get. It was too high up for us to get them with raid. So we got weed killer, and we poured the weed killer into super soakers. And we then proceeded to use super soakers to spray weed killer up into the air over us, looking
You
up at this.
deserve everything that's about to happen in this story.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh no, it gets better. Because sometimes the wasps would take a while to die. So then I suggested to one of my friends that he get my aluminum baseball bat and he just start whacking them on the ground.
Oh, of course. Yeah, this is gonna end great.
Yeah, let's just get that hormone that's like, hey guys, attack mode now. Let's just get that spread all over the driveway. Great idea.
Yeah.
To be fair, things were going really, really well for us until we didn't keep an eye on how much murder water we still had. At which point, I got stung directly in my nose. It like flew into my nose and just stung the shit out of me. And my buddy killed it by slapping me.
Ah, of course, yes, excellent. Now, I actually have one worse than that. It wasn't
no. Well, I was gonna say there's a different core memory.
Yeah.
We there was a construction site at the end of the road. And they had a big gravel pile. So what did we do? We found some. No, it's even worse. We found old plywood from a different construction site that we knew about.
Right.
And we used that to build a ramp. And try to do tricks off the gravel. We only ended up with some scraped knees, but it was fucking stupid.
I love that. Oh, we never did stupid bicycle tricks. Suddenly, core memory unlocked by things like, wait a second.
Core memory.
No, I'm like, I really didn't do any stupid bicycle tricks, and then I realized, no, I did. I just got away with it.
Yeah.
Right. Key difference.
Yeah, I mean, this didn't happen to me, but I do remember from one of my sister's birthday parties. They had it outside.
I do gotta say just real quick. Those were the only two stupid things.
That left an impact.
that you've remembered for now.
Yeah. He's horny story actually.
So my sister had a birthday party outside, and we had a ground yellow jacket problem.
Oh no.
And they disturbed the nest when they were running around. One of my sister's friends, and she got stung on her crotch. Which I have to heavily question how that series of events came about.
That was gonna be my question. Like I don't know if I want to know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer to it, so I still have scars from being thrown over my handlebars at a gravity intersection. Yeah, I mean, I've crashed really hard on my bike before. Like so hard, like the bike frame would bend and shit. But shockingly, I kind of just ate it and was fine usually. I also usually wore, and as much, and people always fucking made fun of me for this, but whenever I went biking, I always wore thick, fingerless leather gloves. Turns out, great plan, because your first instinct is to put your hands in front of your body when you fall. And so those leather gloves ate a whole bunch of cement for me. Over the years. But no, I did have one incident which was not my fault at all. It was at Champlain. I think you might have remembered this one, Atin. But I was heading towards the annex, the IT annex.
Oh yeah. Wait.
It
The
Mhm.
one by the one under the library, or the one in the white building?
The one with the large parking lot next to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just for everyone's frame of reference, remember we went to a school that had a bunch of tech majors and a gaming major,
Yeah.
including a gaming library with a bunch of old ass systems that you couldn't take out, but that you could use there.
Yeah.
So there were
Hmm,
multiple IT
That's kind of
sectors.
cool.
And so
It
when
was
I was pedaling to that, yeah, it was the white building. Yeah. I was pedaling to that on my bicycle, because I was outside of the normal range of travel. Actually, no, this was my first year because I was still on my bicycle. So no, Atin wasn't there for that, but Atin knows what I'm talking about.
I know the building.
Yeah. I was on the left sidewalk as if you're going towards campus, down that road. And it was raining heavily out, and I was on the sidewalk, and I passed over the tree that had shifted the pavement there,
That fucking dickhead.
and I slipped, obviously, with my bicycle, and proceeded to eat shit and sliding. And I show up to class, and there is just because I hit my underneath my chin at just the right spot. Like, it wasn't directly on my chin, so I didn't get hurt, but it was directly under my chin, so it just kind of skinned that entire area, and so blood was pouring down my neck. But I didn't notice. So I show up to class because I'm fucking soaked, right? Because it's fucking pouring out, so I'm already
You
soaked.
can't notice.
So I don't notice more soaking of a different type occurring. So I show up to class, and the teacher looks at me and goes, "Holy shit, are you okay?" I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" They're like, "You have blood everywhere." I'm like, "What the fuck? Oh wow, that's a lot of blood."
Um,
It's probably not mine.
I have two more.
Oh no, the not mine one was the time I sent that guy to the hospital.
Yeah, but we've all heard that one.
Was that like 2 times?
Yeah.
So first, just one kind of a funny handlebar story. So this is when my father was teaching my brother and I how to ride bikes. Now, my father started us off with 21 speed bikes.
Oh, I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, you can work your way up, I suppose.
No, but right, it had an actual brake.
Oh.
Now, he was teaching us how to do it on a pretty gentle slope.
Sure.
However, it was the bottom of the hill did end at a curve in the road.
Yeah.
So of course there's a safety ditch
Sure.
at the bottom of the road, right? Now it was filled in with grass, but I felt so bad because my brother went first. And we were used to, pedaling backwards to brake. We'd ridden friends' bikes and stuff like that. We'd kind of biked a little bit, but we didn't have our own bikes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I understand.
And my brother's going down the hill and he's picking up speed because it was a gentle slope, but it was a long slope. My brother's picking up speed. He's getting bottom. My dad's like, sibling, stop, you gotta stop. And we see him trying to pedal backwards, and he's starting to panic because he's not stopping.
Let me guess. He pulls the brake for the front tire.
Yes, but it gets better.
Oh.
Because he did that about a millisecond before hitting the curb.
Excellent. Of course.
So, bike comes screeching to a halt, hits the curb, and my brother proceeded to reenact a BMX stunt without letting go of the bike.
Of course, obviously. As one does.
He may or may not have ended up slamming his front wheel into his own nads. He was totally fine, apart from being really sore. And of course, my father and I, we sprint down the hill and we're like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, and we're like, "Okay." And of course, then we can't help but laugh because he's fine, mostly.
Right.
And it was really fun. Like, that's the thing. You got to understand, from the perspective of the people on top of the hill, he got some air. And then Sneaky talking about getting hurt with blood. I have a much less bad but still somewhat concerning story. So I was eating lunch outside, and I was running to get to class. This was in my high school, and I'm running inside, and it had been raining. I wasn't soaked, but my shoes got wet, and I'm running up the stairs. These stairs had, the stairs had like the plastic rubber grippy stuff on them, except it hadn't been replaced in about 20 years. So it was serving the opposite of its intended function. And hey, Sneaky, what's one of your favorite things about trying to go upstairs with absolutely no fucking depth perception?
Tripping and landing
Yes.
face first into the stairs.
Yes. My personal favorite is, I know exactly where this step is. Goes to put foot down, meets air. What the fuck?
Yes. Yes.
Timber!
I'm a
So I
genius.
fall.
Oh no.
Yes. So I fall, and I land on the side of my head. And I get up, and I'm like, ow, my head hurts. But I gotta get to class. So I run into class. And I'm in there, and I'm sitting in class. And then, and I was sitting in the back. And it was the end of the row. So there's no one to my left, and that's important. Landed on the left side of my head.
Mm.
And at one point, the teacher goes to sit down at her desk after she finishes the lesson, and she looks over me, and she's like, oh my god, what's wrong? And I'm like, huh? And it turned out my ear had been bleeding. And it had like trickled all the way down the side of my face. So there's just this like line of blood down the side of my head, and she's like, what's wrong, are you okay? I'm like, huh? She's like, you're bleeding. Huh? Touch the side of my face. Oh, well, I guess I am. So it was nowhere near as bad as Sneaky's, but yes, all like young adult men have a phenomenal ability to ignore the fact that they're bleeding.
I mean, I have unfortunately abused my body quite a bit in two situations that does come to mind. The first time was when I was a very, very young child, and I proceeded to wear flip-flops during one fine summer day, and then trip down a hill on the sidewalk, and like dragged my knee across the pavement for like a solid 15+ feet. And entirely scraped all skin off of my knee. That shit was bleeding for months.
Yeah.
The other major injury I received in my lifetime was when I was going very fast on my 21 speed bike, and I hit a stick. I thought I'd be fine. I was not. This stick caused me to lose control, which normally I would be fine. I was not. Because
Those same sticks.
I just so happened to lose control on this forest dirt path right in front of the one mailbox made of bricks.
You
Sneaky, are you sure it was a stick that you hit and not a small branch?
I mean, brick, stick, branch, it's the same thing.
I know. Well, no. See, a branch is a big stick, technically, but like, there's still
it was
a
a branch.
difference. Okay, I figured.
And so I hit this brick mailbox going maximum speed.
Please tell me you busted it slightly.
Yes, actually, and my dad laughs about it to this day, because every time he drives by it, he looks at the mailbox and it's slightly tilted, and he knows, I know what caused that.
From your fucking head?
From me impacting it, yeah.
Yep.
And now, I don't remember anything after impacting the mailbox. I just remember waking
That's
up on
called
the
a
ground.
concussion!
Probably. But I mean, this happens frequently with me, so I mean,
I mean, yeah, no, this is probably possible concussions. They're just a little blackout.
I didn't have a
nothing
head
out of the
injury though, which was
ordinary.
the thing. The only part of me that was injured was my calf. My right calf muscle had 5 large, maybe half-inch deep gouges in it.
Oh yes, of course.
From where the gear of the bicycle shredded my leg.
I'm getting dinner while Sneaky continues to tell you all how he nearly died. By the way, we still haven't read a fucking story.
No, that's fine.
Oh no, we did. Sort of.
Okay, I read part of
I
one.
mean, it's terrible, and the
I approve
grammar's
of it.
awful, and I feel like I'm having a seizure reading it, but, you know, it exists.
I want to be clear. I don't approve of the story. I approve of the fact that we rarely.
Yeah. Well, look, we're telling stories here. That's basically the point of this show.
True.
You should get this checked out, Sneaky, if this keeps happening. No.
Nah.
See, I lose consciousness when danger occurs.
I just realized he left 15 minutes early.
Yes.
Damn, we shouldn't let him get away with that.
Don't worry, I'll be sure to torture him on Friday.
Woo!
Yeah, I lose consciousness when danger occurs, and I talked to my dad about this, and he said that's normal for the guys in my family.
Oh, okay, so you're just actively repressing it. Good.
No, it's because our body proceeds to inject so much adrenaline into our systems, we lose higher brain function.
You said you were Irish, right?
Dutch and
Dutch,
Irish.
Okay. Yeah, that might be the berserker continuing on the family line.
Yeah. Which does relate to the story as to where I sent someone to the hospital.
Yeah.
But
Alright,
basically,
wow.
yeah, so I woke up massively injured, and I kind of just walked it off and put some paper towels on it and cleaned off it with water and just called it a day. And just didn't move that leg too much for like the next week or two, and got some really nasty scars out of it, so that was cool for a while. Like 2 decades. But yeah, so the time I sent someone to the hospital was
We've heard the story plenty of
well,
times.
yeah, Killian Air asked to hear it though. That was in high school, a sophomore year. I'm not a morning person, and they decided that they were going to pick on me because they were like 6'3" and 400 pounds, and I was not 6'3" and like 180 pounds. And they thought they would get cool if they like beat me up because he was white trash and had a massive inferiority complex. And he stole my drink and threw it away, and then one of my friends came back and gave it to me. And so I went to go. So the reason why he stole my drink, so my friends had a table that we sat at in the cafeteria before the school day started because the buses would take a while to get everyone into the school. So the buses tended to get everyone in early. As the people would trickle in, we would sit at the cafeteria tables while we waited to go to homeroom. And my friends, which were, like 15 or so people, we were enough to claim a whole table to ourselves. And so we sat at that table for a whole year and then the whole next year. And this guy moved in like a couple months, I guess, into the school year or something, and decided to sit at our table. And we were like, whatever, we're not going to be like, oh, territorial or shit, anything. But I had my backpack at the one end of the table, and I went to go buy a drink. I bought the drink, came back, went to go put it in my backpack. I'm reaching over this guy because he decided to sit in my way to put my backpack away. So he grabs the drink and throws it. Friend brings it back to me. So I'm behind the guy. This is important because of what happens next. So I'm behind the guy with a large vitamin water, cold, near frozen, in my hand. And I'm not a morning person. So the amount of fucks I'm currently giving at that moment was 0. And I proceed to bonk him on the back of the head, lightly. Just as, hey, fuck you. So he decides to punch me in the kidney. This was a poor decision on his part.
I was about to say, that's a mistake. 'Cause Sneaky is not a flight person. Sneaky is an I'm thrown down kind of person.
What
Not
happens next surprises no one.
except maybe the guy that threw the punch.
Oh, it definitely surprised him. Most semi-sane individuals are not morning people. Yes. So I
Sounds like a real issue, fellas.
take this liter bottle of near frozen liquid, step back, wind up, and proceed to fastball it at the back of his head, point blank. It hits him so hard in the back of the head, the pressure explodes the cap off of the bottle, sends it flying about 30 to 40 feet across the room, and also sends his head rocketing straight into the table in front of him. And the last thing I remember is winding up a massive right hook, and as he turns around, I cold clock him straight in the temple. And then I don't remember anything after that, my vision going red. And the next thing I know is I'm on the ground, he's on the ground, and I am embedded in one of the cafeteria tables with the metal piping used for the seats bent in the shape of my back. Because according to everyone around me, while we were fighting, air quotes, I say fighting air quotes because effectively what the fight apparently was I kept punching him in the face, and he was picking me up and throwing me around like a rag doll because I was half his weight and shorter than him. And he was apparently slamming my head into the cinder blocks, and he was just like got tired of me punching him in the face, and so he just picked me up and lifted me in the air as high as he could and slammed me down into the cafeteria table, which exploded the chair I landed in and bent the metal to the shape of my back. Which is at which point I regained consciousness and looked to the guy that was now sitting next to me. And he's looking down in horror like, what the fuck just happened? And I look up at him and say, how's your day going? Mine's pretty shit so far. I love this story solely for that. Of apparently my wit is so unmatched, I can exit unconsciousness and just have something to say at the top of that. So one of the teachers rushes over to me and pulls the kid away from me, who's on the ground, by the way. I have so many great one-liners, you don't understand. Pulls the kid away from me, he's on the ground crying, and he pulls me up, and he's like, holy shit, oh my god, Sneaky, oh god, are you okay? Are you okay? We need to get you to the to the nurses, and we get to the hospital. I'm like, no, I'm fine. He's like, no, Sneaky, I just watched you break cinder block with your skull and get impacted with metal so hard the metal bent. You're not fine. I'm like, okay, fine. Let's go to the nurses. And they take me to the nurses. And as we're walking at the nurses, my teacher was wearing a white button-down shirt. And, his arm swings when he's walking. And my eye sees a color. I turn my head, and his arm swings, and he's got this massive, like, half arm length size, deep red blotch on his arm. Like, we're talking, like, soaked deep red blotch. And I go, oh shit. And he's like, what? And he traces where I'm looking, and he looks at his arm. He's like, oh shit, are you okay, Sneaky? Where are you bleeding? I'm like, I'm not bleeding. And so we rush down to the nurse's office, and the nurse checks me over. And the worst I have is a T-shaped mark on my back from where I impacted the metal. And it's just like mildly inflamed. Like nothing else is wrong with me. And so the nurse declares that, and we look at his arm, and we're like, you should probably get the other guy to the hospital.
You know, a small part of me wonders what happened to that man who made a poor choice that day.
He continued to make poor choices. So, despite the fact that, technically speaking, I threw the first punch, because I did hit him first, he decided to mouth off to the school officials, and he got like 2 weeks suspension, and they gave me 1 day suspension, despite me I went to the principal's office, and they're like, what happened? I was like, well, I cold clocked him. And they're like, so you're saying you threw the first punch? I'm like, yeah, I definitely threw the first punch on that one. They're like, well, thank you for being honest, I guess. We're just gonna give you 1 day off. Yeah, nat 20 charisma roll.
Fucking bullshit.
So yeah, that guy gets taken to the hospital, has to get 48 stitches for his face, because apparently I just kept punching him.
I love that for some reason you just went full cat. Just the face is all that matters. Just get the face.
Yeah, I just kept punching him in the side of the head until he stopped.
Killian never wishes to know if he looked any prettier after.
Bro, I couldn't fucking tell you. I don't look at faces. I understand people by the hair and their clothes. But the second he got back, he decided to regain his lost honor by picking a fight with a kid who was a year younger than him, who also happened to be the junior varsity quarterback.
Yeah. Let's fuck with the QB.
Yeah,
that won't end poorly for him, especially because quarterbacks pretty consistently are one of the most like valuable members of the team for good reason.
Also, kid was absolutely jacked. Like, even though he was like 5'10", he was like 230 pounds of muscle.
Is he one of those people that like proves that the like animation trope of like clothes hide the actual outline, and once the clothes are off, it's like, oh shit, they're ripped.
Yeah, the dude was just absolutely jacked, and proceeded to physically lift and toss the 6'3" guy.
Bro.
Physically toss the 6'3" guy into the metal water fountain, breaking his sternum.
Was the guy on the spectrum like?
He was white trash, so probably. He lost to someone half his size. Well, he actually picked on someone shorter and younger than me. It just happened to be that this guy was way more jacked than I was. But yeah, he ended up breaking his sternum. Yeah. went to the hospital again. Yeah, effectively like that. Yeah, Aura. Yeah. Yeah. But
That's
wasn't the first time I sent someone to the hospital. The first time I sent someone to the hospital was when a group of kids tried to kill me in 7th grade, and I decided to they decided to put me in a headlock while I was facing them. So
I'm gonna bet they didn't secure your arms.
No. So because they were trying to force me into this pile of dog shit. Because their original plan was to crush my trachea, but that didn't work. So they were just trying to force me into this pile of dog shit. So they kind of did me with a frontal headlock, but I'm not stupid. So I just, yeah, literal dog shit. Like there was a literal pile of dog shit. Yeah. So I kind of just scooped behind the guy's knees and triggered the curl reflex on him, and then proceeded to lift him up from that and use the momentum to pile drive him into the ground with my full body weight. And broke his arm. Like, totally. Snapped that thing like a fucking twig. And they backed off after that.
Some people's skeletons just aren't built like yours or mine, Sneaky.
No, definitely not like mine. Yeah, I'll just casually walk off. some really heavy blunt force trauma. Yeah. They got away with it too. They didn't get punished. Besides getting 2 days of Saturday detention, I also got 2 days of Saturday detention because I defended myself. But they got 2 days of Saturday detention for admitting to trying to murder me.
God, I fucking hate that so much.
Yeah.
I always hated that. You're not allowed to defend yourself. It's like,
and it's like, it's like one thing where it's like, oh, they were just like punching you in the shoulder and then you like punched him in the face. It's like, all right, I sort of get that. But this group of kids just straight out came and said, yeah, we were trying to kill him by asphyxiation. And the school was like, well, that's very naughty of you. That's 2 days Saturday detention.
Hey, yeah, school, I'd like to press charges. That's not 2 Saturdays detention. That's juvie. And you're now aiding and abetting criminals.
Yeah, unfortunately, I would have loved to press charges. But the father of the guy who tried to kill me was a Saudi oil baron, not like an oil prince, but like a high up official in the oil prince's line, and had like literal dick buckets of money. Like his son got $10,000 a month in allowance. Like that's how rich the guy was. So my mother and the school both were like, oh, we probably should not enter a legal battle with him. It's like, not only is he a foreigner who can just leave.
I mean, you're right, but they confessed.
Yeah, I know.
Presumably in front of an SRO who is usually a licensed police officer.
No, they wanted to settle this in a peaceful environment. So there was only a guidance counselor in the room. Yeah. It's okay, I broke his nose. at the end of the year because I was moving schools. So I was like, well, I have no consequences for this. So at the last day of the school year, I walked up to him and punched him in the face and broke his nose.
Permanent record gets wiped when you start your freshman year in high school. So yeah, fucking
Also
go
that,
for
yeah.
it.
Yeah, so
That was that is one of the worst things you can inform middle schoolers of. By the way,
that's
like
yeah. Well,
like my eighth grade social studies teacher's like, by the way, guys, did you know that your permanent record's BS? What do you mean, social studies teacher? Oh yeah, when you become a freshman in high school, we actually just wipe your permanent records. Like,
that was a poor choice to tell us.
that is not something you tell certain children in this class, sir. Why would you do this?
But yeah, no, I quite literally walked up to the kid, and I was like, "Hey, shit ass, now because I'm moving schools, I don't have to worry about consequences from this." And he goes, "Huh?" Bam! he's just fucking on the ground crying. You broke my nose.
You tried to kill me. Like, oh no. You know, I get the feeling he was too much of a bitch to tell his dad how he got the broken nose.
Oh,
'Cause,
probably was
like,
also the first time
that,
someone ever like retaliated against him.
oh, I'm sure, but like that could have absolutely been a lawsuit coming against you, and the fact it
Oh,
didn't,
totally.
it's like, something happened back home that the kid either didn't tell the truth, or dad's like, no, you probably deserve that. You can't
Well, I
defend
mean,
yourself.
you gotta keep in mind that this is also Middle Eastern culture, so it's entirely possible. It's like the dad saw the kid got his nose broken and was like, "You were not powerful enough. You deserve it. You are weak."
Like I said, Sneaky,
Yeah.
as I said, he may have been like, you know what, you deserve that. You just couldn't defend yourself. Like, come on.
Do you think your parents could have done a parent-to-parent talk with the oil guy? No. No.
Yeah.
No.
Based on the stories Sneaky shared, I don't think they would have cared enough to do that.
No. No, my parents cared during school. They just had a really shit way of showing it. And my mother had gone into parent discussions before with other parents who had their kids bullying me, and it always ended with me getting bullied harder because my mom's stupid and a woman. And I do mean it that way because she thought if an authority figure just told the bully he was being naughty, he would stop bullying people. And then,
I will say that might work sometimes, but that's under the assumption that the bully still has some shred of a conscience remaining.
Yeah, she actually made it even worse because she would be like, you know, Sneaky said you were bullying him. You shouldn't do that. That's bad. Can you guess how well that worked out for me?
I'm going to guess it intensified.
Yeah, because your mom told my mom I was hitting you. Punch in the face. Now I got grounded because of you. Punch in the face. Punch in the face.
Yeah. You know, I'm not usually one for violence. I've been of the mind like it's a resort, but it should be the last resort when possible.
I literally had to beg her to stop telling parents that their children were bullying me because she just made it worse every time.
Honestly, I probably just be like, you know what? I tried the peaceful route. You came back. Here's a magic trick. You have no kids in the future and just let rip with a kick.
I mean, I did
Like,
eventually arrive at that position when I got into high school.
even younger me, it would have gone to that way quicker than you did.
Well, I mean, see, the thing you got to keep in mind, I was a heavily abused child, so I was very shy and scared, and small. So, and every time I ever used physical force at that point in my life, everyone was bigger than me, so they would just use more physical force against me.
Yeah, well, see, that's why you play dirty.
Oh, like I said, I eventually did reach that point where I started nut checking people, and
yeah. Even when I was a child, I was always like, here's the thing. I love the idea of just like straight up honorable fight. It's a really cool concept. In reality, nah, no holds barred. I know all kinds of points to hit a person that will get them to stop. Yeah, thumb in the eye, that'll get most people to stop. That doesn't work.
Didn't
Start
you
going
have a
for kidney if
tomboy
that still
older
doesn't work.
sister bigger than you? No, she's not a tomboy. Also, she's
But-
my stepsister. Also, she was half of my bullying.
Yeah, that. I would love to know where Phoenix got the idea that you had a tomboy older sister who would have taken care of you.
Yeah, no.
Uh,
No,
Sneaky
I
would
was
be
the
a very
unloved
different person.
sibling. Yeah. Yeah, no, I had abusive younger sister and abusive older sister and abusive older brother and abusive stepmother and incompetent father and mother.
But hey, at least your relationship with your younger brothers, as far as I'm aware, like.
Oh yeah, my
determined.
relationship with my younger brother is great now. Partially because I put the fear of God into the kid. Because, you know, his mother certainly fucking wasn't.
Ironic considering she calls herself a Catholic.
Yeah.
With all the stories you've shared about her behavior and setting up signs of Solomon like a stupid.
Yeah, well, she's trying to mix Catholicism and Hinduism and Buddhism.
I still find that funny. It's like I'm going to work on my spiritual side, and it's like, man, that is not how you do that as a Christian or Catholic. That is the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do.
She did
in those
apologize to
religions.
me. I think I told you that. She apologized to me, and then I was like, okay. She's like, you're supposed to accept my apology, and I was like, I acknowledge your apology.
Oh yeah, that one. And then
I
when she finally had that moment of like, he actually doesn't care.
I fucking hate you.
The hatred is so passionate that there is no anger. It simply exists.
I remember a story where you said you and your older sister were roughhousing.
No. That was
No.
probably him and his older brother, and it wasn't roughhousing. It was the older brother trying
Beating the
to
shit out of me.
trying to beat the shit out of Sneaky, and Sneaky's like, all right, well, gloves are off.
Oh no,
Setting the record straight.
he spent a large. This is part of the abusal stuff, where my stepmother encouraged air quotes wrestling between the two of us. Where I said air quotes wrestling because he was allowed to kick the shit out of me, but if I punched him during our air quotes wrestling, I would get grounded. And the time I finally retaliated was when I was a senior in high school and I was playing some video game. I think it was Mass Effect 3. And he had come home from college and he was like, hey. I was like, And then he tried to basically bully me. He was like, oh, I said fucking hey, man. I said hey. And, he starts choking me out. And then I, flip on him and I put my fucking legs around his head. And I'm like, all right, you keep going. I'm going to snap your neck. And then he realized I was being serious and not playing around. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I never roughhoused with my older stepsister. Because I would get punished if I did.
No, Sneaky having a good relationship with anyone aside from his younger brother, we would have a very different Sneaky with a slightly more positive outlook on life.
Probably,
today.
honestly, yeah. A little bit. It's always a weird position for me, because it's like, it wasn't like terrible, objectively.
Oh, that's what you think, Killionaire. I am an equal opportunist.
I was
Everyone can be hit.
equal rights and equal lefts. But I mean, like, objectively speaking, I wasn't like beat by my father.
God, I can't even remember
Wasn't
if it was
belted.
my parents. I can't remember if it was my parents or just another like aunt or uncle. It's like, listen, don't be the one to throw the first punch, but be the one to throw the last punch.
Oh,
Like,
exactly, 100%, yeah, absolutely.
no matter the situation, no. I think it was a mom. It's like, you should never hit a girl unless she starts it. It's like, huh? It's like, yeah, no. Never hit a woman, never hit a female unless she starts it. It's like, oh, okay, so I am allowed to defend myself. All right, great.
Yeah.
Glad that's been cleared up.
I mean, it was, one of the guys. Max, you probably remember this a little bit. You remember back in the day when I had that fucking practice butterfly knife, and I would annoy the shit out of you whenever we talked by swinging it around in the background, and it was always squeaking over my mic?
I do not.
Really? Well, you were pissed by it, so I stopped doing it eventually.
I don't remember that. Are you sure that was with me?
Yeah, it was with you, because you're
Because
pretty much
I
the only
also had
person
a
I
practice butterfly knife that I would use.
Yeah, no, it was definitely with you, because you're pretty much the only one I ever talked to over voice.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
It was during college years.
I must have been really irritable during that time or something then.
Yeah, you were. That's
'Cause,
also
like,
because you're doing your engineering phase.
Well, second year of college, a lot of shit hit the fan with family back home. So,
Yeah.
so
But
I'm pretty sure I had a year-long bout of depression that was further enhanced by the ADHD meds I was on, which were
they do
some
that.
of the first non-stimulants. Well, so they were the non-stimulants. They were some of the first non-stimulant ones you could get, which means you didn't need to go see a specialist to get it. You could just get it over the phone kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
One of the side effects was depression, and I just looked at my
Oh.
mom. Like a couple years after that, I go to my mom. I was like, "Hey, so one of the side effects is depression. Do you think that's what hit me in my second year of college?" She looks like, "That explains why your personality changed." Like, what do you mean? Yeah, you were like a zombie whenever you were on those meds. It's like,
Yeah, that's what I got told when I
oh.
was on Concerta.
Which is very odd because stimulants don't normally do that, but it can happen. Yeah. Yeah, that must have been during my second year of college then when I had that year-long depression bout. Because I'm thinking on it, I don't remember those calls, but I do remember I was a bit more irritable during that entire year.
But yeah, I would do it whenever we were doing the calls, and you got kind of mad at me for it, and I was like, oh, sorry, and I stopped. But I bring that up because that summer, one of my friends from high school, well, pre-high school, invited me to his birthday party because we hadn't seen each other in like super fucking long, and I was like, hey, I'm actually in the area this time. Do you want to hang out? And he's like, oh, I'm actually having a birthday party. Why don't you come over? I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, sure. So it was pretty much the group that I remember pre-high school. They pretty much stayed together. One of the kids I hated a lot was there, named Kevin. I hated him in pre-high school because he ate his boogers. Yeah. He would just pick his nose in front of me and then eat his boogers. And then alternatively, he would wipe it everywhere. which of course, me having OCD and germophobia because of my mom, obviously, you know. Exactly. Why is it always a Kevin? Exactly. I don't know. Anyway,
That's pretty funny considering you ended up becoming decent friends with a Kevin in college.
which one?
Trios.
Oh yeah. Well, then he kind of turned into a sex maniac and stopped ever talking to us again.
No, let's be real. He was always that.
Yeah, he was always a sex maniac. Yes, that's true. But he just found a girlfriend who was as excessive as he was.
Which, good for him.
Yes.
He found someone with similar interests.
Didn't he have like
if
3
only we
kids
could
with him?
Pretty sure he had several
Yeah.
kids, yes.
Good for him. But anyway,
Yeah, we haven't talked with him in a minute.
yeah, about like 6 years. But yeah, so he was at that party and he had a girlfriend, some Asian lady. It's whatever, and they were all good friends because they basically spent all of high school in the same class and all of that, and they all went to college near the area, and so they all kind of grew up together when I left. So I was like, whatever, I don't care. I wasn't antagonistic with him. He was antagonistic with me because he's fucking stupid. By the way, of course, he had the same personality that I left him with back pre-high school. Fucking an immature fucking little prick. This is, by the way, the same guy who cut off the ceremonial hair knot that one of our classmates had with scissors because he thought it was funny. Yeah. So we're at this party, we watch some movies, we listen to some music, we eat some food, we're playing some video games in his room. My friend's room, not Kevin's room. They're playing Blue Archive, and I spot a butterfly knife on my friend's shelves, and I'm like, hey, can I play with that? And he's like, yeah, sure, I guess, just don't hurt yourself. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So I start flinging it around. I start flipping it around, going through the basic maneuvers with it. And apparently, according to my friend, who I guess we're not friends anymore, freaked everyone else out because they all remembered who I was, and how I definitely did not leave on good terms with 90% of them. I was voted most likely to shoot up the school. And yes, that was a voting category. And so there I am, just like, without even looking at the butterfly knife, just going through the maneuver, because I've been practicing them for like a whole fucking year at that point. Freaking everyone else out. But, Kevin's girlfriend goes to the bathroom. And Kevin's like, and takes a chair and jams it into the door of the bathroom. And, the chair is digging into the carpet, and the girlfriend is a petite Asian woman, so she can muster all of 1 pound of force. And obviously can't get the door open. So I am like, whatever, I don't care. It's Kevin's girlfriend. It's Kevin's problem. Whatever. So he's sitting there laughing. Everyone else kind of chuckles for a bit, and then they stop chuckling. And then Kevin just walks off. He just goes into a different room and starts playing pool with his girlfriend screaming and banging on the door of the bathroom that he locked her in. So, I'm like, okay, well, this is my friend's birthday party, so I don't want to, go through the rest of this birthday party with some woman screaming and banging on the door until Kevin stops being a fucking ginormous prick and lets his girlfriend out. So I go up to the door and I open the door. I move the chair out of the way. I start walking away. The girlfriend rushes at me and starts punching me. I'm like, okay, whatever. No. First assumption, the person closest to the door probably was involved with why the door was blocked. Whatever. Again, petite Asian woman musters all about 1 pound of force, collectively. I literally am not even feeling the punches. So I'm like, okay. Yeah, you can stop now. She keeps punching me. I'm like, okay, no, really, it's time to stop now. And she's still screaming and punching me. I'm like, okay. Now you're going to stop. So I grab both her hands, and she's thrashing about and screaming and trying to break my grip on her, but I'm a 6'1" guy who's 280 pounds, and she's 5'3", 90 pounds when soaking wet. So she's not breaking out of my grip on her. She's still thrashing around, and I'm like, okay, you're really stop now. And she's still thrashing around. I'm like, okay, here we go. And so I just body her into the ground, like with a cop takedown. Just body her straight into the ground, arms behind her back. My knee is on the back of her knees. She can't fucking move now. And she's still thrashing around, and I'm starting to raise my voice at her. I'm like, okay, stop. Okay, stop. Fucking stop. Knock it off now.
It's sounding like she had a manic episode at this point.
Oh, fucking probably. I don't give a shit.
No, I'm if she has manic episodes or panic attacks, she really needs to not be
In
the
that
girlfriend
relationship?
of
Yeah.
Kevin. Yeah,
Yeah.
because if it's an honest, open relationship, you tell your significant other, hey, I have these mental issues, so let's try to avoid situations that would cause this to trigger.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Kevin knew, because he just walked away. So I'm pretty sure his whole thing was get a couple laughs about her having a panic attack, and then waiting for her to tire herself out from the panic attack before letting her out.
Except that, like, it could get to the point where she just keels over.
I don't think Kevin gives a shit, to be honest.
Probably not.
So either way, she's still flipping her shit, and I'm increasing the pressure on her harder and harder. And eventually, one of her kicks fling out and knocks over a whole table of food. And that snaps her out of it. And I'm screaming in her face, are you fucking done yet? Because now no one's laughing. Now all of the food is ruined. And everyone's staring at her. So she starts saying, yeah, I'm done. So I let her up. And, she fucking, gives me a side-eye glare as it's somehow my fucking fault. She decided to have a spasm and, attack me. My fault, of course. Yeah, after that, apparently me just going back to sitting in the chair and playing with the butterfly knife, not giving a shit about what just happened, freaked everyone else out around me even more. And yeah, my friend was like, yeah, we're just not friends anymore. You can't come over anymore. I was like, okay, whatever. Eat shit and die. Whatever. If you're gonna choose Kevin over me after what he did, whatever, man. You have your life. I mean, fucking honestly, one of the guys there was Cody, not Cody, Perry, not Perry. One of the guys there was one of those fucking people that you see a mugshot of and you just go, oh, what was his crimes? Rape? And it's like, yeah. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I could tell. That's the sort of mugshot he was the massive fucking creeper. He was a huge fan of that lolly character in that fighting game, Max. Blue whatever, blue.
Oh, Blaze Blue?
Blaze Blue. Yeah, he was a massive fan of that lolly character, and he liked making them do the moves that would remotely sexualize them.
Don't. Hang on. Yeah, was it Platinum?
I have no fucking idea.
Did she look like a cheerleader with
Yes.
big, like, big hair?
Yeah, it was the yeah.
Okay. That's first off, I've been through the movesets of every one of those characters. None of those moves for her come remotely close to that. Second, that's really creepy that he still managed to sexualize her with those.
Well, it's like he
Looks
was
like-
like, oh, I really like it when she does these moves, and it's even better in my porn version of this one. Yeah. He apparently had a either cracked version of it. Yeah, something like that
Okay.
character. Yeah.
Platinum is a fun character writing wise, but that's just creepy. That's
Yeah, he was just really weird, and he was a major creeper. And he wouldn't stop talking about Blue Archive and the porn version of the game that he had for it, and how it was so much better. I was just like,
I
not
really
Blue
don't
Archive,
like that you're
Blaze
now
Blue.
combining Blue Archive and Blaze Blue. I
Sorry,
really don't
my
like
bad.
that. Please stop.
It's
Please
Blaze Blue, my
don't.
bad.
He would be into Blue Archive.
Nah,
though.
probably, honestly, yeah, I wouldn't be fucking surprised if I later learned he was into Blue Archive. But yeah, he wouldn't shut up about Blaze Blue and his porn copies of Blaze Blue, and how he had every Blaze Blue game and he played it all the time. I was like, okay, buddy, weird. You're 26 years old and you're still acting like this. Most likely.
Oh, so
to
it was
fucking rape
recently you saw him then.
Oh, well, no, actually, at that point,
Like in the last,
no, he'd be 23.
Okay, never mind.
Blue Archive was plenty of pedos playing it. Yeah, it's like. Yeah. Anyway, let's just fucking read this little chapter and just call it a night, because honestly, we've told a lot of stories here tonight. I hope someone learned something somewhere along the line. I just really want to go back to this dog shit story here and just really reinforce how bad it can really get. Like, you thought like some of the stories we told were boring, you thought that were off topic or not quite good. It's like, just remember, this is what we're saving you from. Also, dementia. Early onset dementia. Once in the cave, Harry felt more at home than ever did with his relatives, despite it being kind of hard to see with it being so dark in his mind soul cave. Sure. To be fair, nearly anywhere's far better than living with animals in human skin. Ah, yes, your average thought of a 6-year-old. And so Harry decided to explore his home away from prison. Again, average thought of a 6-year-old. As he was exploring, Harry came across many things, like pile of gold coins, small mountain of jewels, enchanted weapons and armor. Not that he knew they were enchanted, Harry just thought they looked cool. And etc. Oh, of course, etc. He also found etc. Max. He did it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He found etc. Uh, you know, you could write a high fantasy story with a fairly amusing punchline where one of the countries is literally called etc. And it's like where all of the other magical items come from. Like that's their main export is miscellaneous magical items.
That, you know, there's some potential there.
There's some potential there for a joke, yeah. At 6, I was daydreaming of turning Bionicle into power armor. Exactly, yeah. Or wouldn't it be cool if I was the Bionicle? Yeah. I mean, it's pretty standard, yeah. I'm just built smarter than the average 6-year-old. I certainly, I certainly hope you are. Harry came across 2 things that he did not expect in a cave. Creatures. Yeah. Yeah, this 6-year-old went into a cave, and he apparently expected to find jewels, and he apparently expected to find gold, and apparently expected to find weapons and armor in a cave, but he didn't expect for there to be other things alive in the cave.
Yeah, why would you expect that?
Yeah.
It's not like there are several known species of animals that just chill in caves all the time.
Yeah, the only thing in caves is everything but living creatures. He even found etc. in the cave. To be specific, the 2 creatures he found in the cave was a dragon. Yeah. So, like, if you read legends about finding gold and jewels and swords and armor in a cave, those same legends also say there's the dragon in the cave. So if you're expecting to find all of the inanimate objects from the legend in the cave, I'm not really sure why you're surprised by finding the other half of the cave dweller. It's just a little bit weird to me. The second thing that Harry finds in the cave is a very big rabbit. Think about rabbit that pulls sled of Radagast the Brown. This author legitimately just tried to use an obscure pop culture reference to tell the audience of an even older series how big the rabbits were. And I say even older because Radagast the Brown didn't really show up in the original Hobbit. That was a movie inclusion. Because it made for a better action scene.
Yes, of course.
So I just, oh, fucking Christ. The odd thing about the dragon and the rabbit. Okay. Aside from the fact that they were the same size despite being different species. Huh? Huh? Oh man, geez. No one introduced this author to cats or dogs. It would blow this guy's brains if the author ever found out about cats and dogs. Okay. Was the really odd thing about the dragon and rabbit was that they were dolls. Huh? Wait, so you said they were alive, but they're dolls? What? And Harry, despite being a child, knew that the creatures were actually asleep. As opposed to being dead? Like, there's the no, theme trope. I guess trope is the best way to describe it. There's the trope about telling children that the person's going to go to sleep for a very long time when someone dies. So why would you say, oh, well, despite being a child, he knew they were actually asleep instead of dead? The opposite. Author. Why? And then the author includes an author's note saying, man, Harry was surprisingly accurate, wouldn't you say? Author, you're the one describing. I want everyone to remember, if they get this far in this episode, I want everyone to remember any complaint you had about all the stories we told up until this point. Remember, we protected you from this. And decided that he was going to pull them outside because the fresh air outside of the cave would wake them up. Huh? And so he grabbed the rabbit and then the dragon and then dragged them outside. It took a long time, author's note, and a lot of breaks because he was worn out. That's a lot of weight for a child to carry, readers. End author's note. But he finally got them set outside as gently as he could. Author's note. It wasn't easy for him because he was exhausted. End author's note. And then he started moving everything else inside the cave outside. Why? And then he got really weak and passed out. Huh? And then when Harry woke up, it was morning. Despite being full of fear, he was hopeful and determined to go back to the cave. And so Harry would retreat into his mindscape every night, clearing the cave out. I mean, if you want, we're going to talk about metaphors here, and the cave is some sort of metaphor for his mind. Wouldn't him emptying the cave be him metaphorically emptying his mind? Like, I'm not the only one who doesn't understand this, right? right?
There's a lot of words the author is throwing out there, and they're kind of all stumbling over each other.
I'm and then he found some items that would need a lot of help to even move, which is for some reason he decided to capitalize all these words. And such as a shelf containing capitalized massive amount of scrolls that he absolutely has to move out of the cave for some reason. As the day went by, the dragon and rabbit gained awareness. Harry, seeing their eyes open after so many days shut, made him happy. He tried to speak to them, however, they didn't react. And Harry figured that they must be barely awake. Why would you want to wake up the dragon? I mean, if you just threw in a line saying, like, Harry thought the dragon was cool, so he dragged it out to wake it up, I'd be like, okay, fine. But, like, so far, apparently Harry is this hyper-competent 6-year-old who was like, the dragon needs to be woken up because the air is bad inside the cave. Okay. Why? To everything. And so he kept clearing the cave out, and he found another chest full of gold and gems, but he couldn't move that either. And so he carried a bunch of other stuff out of the cave. And he did this for months. And then he one day returned to his mindscape after months, and the dragon and rabbit just jumped on top of him and thanked him for getting them out of the cave. And then Harry was like, "Whoa, can you speak to me?" And then they tried to speak to him, and no sound came out of their mouths. And Harry was like, "Oh, I can't hear you." And then the dragon and rabbit were sad, but they understood that it was too soon for Harry to hear them. Okay. And then Harry is like, "Okay, well, you want me to help me move more stuff out of the cave?" And so they enthusiastically agreed, and they worked on that. And then with help, Harry was finally able to move everything out of the cave. And they found a massive pearl in the cave, bound by chains. And upon seeing the pearl, the dragon and rabbit immediately tried to carry the pearl. And Harry was like, "Should I try and carry the pearl?" And the dragon and rabbit were like, "Yeah, you need to carry this pearl, Harry." And so with Harry's help, the chains were removed from the pearl, and the pearl was carried, and the pearl was really heavy, author's note, really heavy without the chains. End author's note. It took a few hours of slow going, but then the three of them managed to pull the pearl to an altar they created outside the cave. Why did they make an altar? After they put the pearl on the altar, they all collapsed in exhaustion, and Harry was like, "Thanks for helping me." And the next day, he started talking with them, and the dragon and rabbit were able to respond finally. And Harry was like, "Oh, I can hear you now." And they're like, "Great, this is fantastic." Also, the author doesn't know you're supposed to separate dialogue into separate paragraphs, and has them all talking in one giant paragraph.
Oh, good.
And with that, the three of them hugged each other really hard. For the dragon and the rabbit, they were finally glad to be able to hear someone. And for Harry, he felt like he was becoming whole, and the three did not want to stop hugging each other. I'm gonna pull out an old one here. Yeah. Let's see, how old is this author? This author created their profile in 2020. Ooh, 2020, so probably They are currently going to be 19 years old. "19 years old at worst. We're looking at 16 years old at best. That is some really dog shit grammar for a 16-year-old. Let alone a 19-year-old. But like that grammar the author used, like that is like first grade tier grammar. Like they failed English every year except for first grade. They have 9 stories. If you have ideas, I might write them for you. Just PM me. To everyone that reads my stories, is it really too much effort for you to leave a review? Too many leave good chapter. I want to hear what my readers think of my stories, so please review my stories. It's good grammar from someone who probably says things like phantom tax. You're not wrong, Phoenix. You are not wrong. Very likely. Considering the fact they are 110% a Zoomer, they made their profile 4 years ago. Which means they are either between 10 years old 4 years ago. No, I would say 12. 12 years old 4 years ago, or they were 14. Leave the biggest steaming pile of truth on their story. Yeah, I will 100% do this. They have 9 stories, and it is all dog shit. It is all written the same way. 4K, 20K, 600, 800, 8,000, 8,000, 7,000, 20K, 15K. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what the reviews for this story were. The latest review is understandable. Though thank you for continuing till Hollywand so that I can literally imagine Hollywand telling dumbass adore. Fuck you, magic middle finger up saying though I low carry he ant my wielder. Why my wilder. More please, more please, more please, more please, goat lover ass Dumbledore. Harry Potter was Kenpachi Zaraki in a previous life. When did they start writing? Their oldest story is let's see here. Their oldest story is February 14th. This year. So they had a profile for 4 years before they started writing. They have over 500 favorited stories. Quarter Ass is one of their favorite authors. Okay. I'm Trans is one of their favorite authors. Shadow Joestar. They seem to go through entire author's page and favorite everything that author makes. Let's see, we got any other recognizable ones here. Some really fucking shit stories here in his favorites page here. Like, Jesus Christ, these are some really fucking awful. I recognize a lot of these stories, and these stories are goddamn dog shit. Which, I mean, I'm not surprised. But, you know, it's there. Jesus Christ. Hey, hey! Well, what can we have here? Mr. Mad Raptor Fanfiction himself is on his favorites page. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that coming. Yeah. Neon Zangetsu as well, yeah, wow. Yeah, Zero Arashi Uchiha, yeah. Yeah, I'm recognizing some of these names, and these people are fucking dog shit. These people are straight dog shit. Azure Dragon, oh wow. Yeah, I'm recognizing some of these names here, and damn. Sucks to suck. Damn, that's crazy. Mid-teens at best, yeah, 100%. No, this is like yeah. We're talking about some real dog shit stories here. We're talking about, like, you know, the shit you kind of favorite when you're like 14 years old and too stupid to understand. And what's his latest chapter? Is his latest chapter saying that he wants to end the story? I was tempted to end this chapter just before the Holly and Phoenix Feather one, but I kept going. Oh wow, he still does the author's note shit? Wow, yeah, damn, these chapters fucking suck, let me tell you. Damn. It's crazy. I didn't know first graders could write so well. Really proud of you, champ. Grab the dam. Yeah. Really proud of you, champ. I'm sure you will be able to write something worth reading someday at this rate. But today, not that day. Maybe instead of fan fiction and looking for equally as illiterate people to correct your failings, you read a book.
Oh, there goes Sneaky being sneaky.
Indeed. Hey, look, he asked for reviews about what he could do better. And my review is stop writing. Time well spent. Exactly. I had fun. You had fun. Everyone suffered. Brain damage. Well, come back on Friday. Because there is always more, and it does always get worse.